Howdy folks, and welcome to my crash tested review of the Hepco Becker crash guards on my 2018 Moto Guzzi V7III Stone. If you watch my older videos back when I used to ride the Ducati Multistrada, you'll probably figured out that I really like to have protection on my bike just in case something goes wrong. Luckily on the Multistrada nothing ever did, but unfortunately, on the Moto Guzzi, roughly 5,000 miles in, it actually did happen. So let me tell you about these bars and how they help protect my motorcycle. So let's talk about the various bars that are out there. There's lots and lots of manufacturers producing crash guards. I think some of them are quite good, some of them are a little bit less than good. And in the case of the Moto Guzzi, there's several options. There's an OEM option, I think Guzzi makes one, there's some other folks out there, and then there's Hepco Becker. And I chose to go with the Hepco Becker bar for one very, very simple reason. The protection it offers because of the multiple points where these crash guards are anchored. So what makes these very different from other crash guards is that they are anchored at the engine block. There's actually a bolt that runs straight through the engine to the other side and mounts this this engine guard. So there's a very, very strong connection right there at the bottom end of this crash guard. It also has a bracket that connects to the frame, specifically the frame connection that you see right here, that's on the Moto Guzzi. So there's mounting points right there. And then in of itself, it comes with another bracket right here, an add-on bracket that connects the left crash guard to the right crash guard across the top. So effectively there's 3 points of strength here. There's the upper, there's the lower on the engine, and then there's the main mount to the frame, and this is a double mount to the frame. Very, very rigid construction. And as I unfortunately got to crash test this thing, I think that rigidity and the strength of this connection is why this thing worked so well and why it protected my bike from much more severe damage. And so what happened? Well, it wasn't that huge of a crash, still not exactly a fun experience. I was going about 25 or so, and I was going towards a turnaround underneath an expressway. So you know how you have those turnaround lanes that go underneath the highway and back on the other side on the frontage road? Well, so I was approaching that one, and I was trying to be really careful, and I tried to execute a good line. I wasn't really going too fast. I was slowing down, and as I started leaning the bike, and as I went from the right edge of the lane kind of towards the middle, I was kind of trying to make the apex. There must have been some oil on that middle section, and my front just straight up wiped out. I mean, there was no warning, no skidding. The front just went to the right, I went to the left, and the bike just smacked down onto the ground. So, not exactly a high-speed crash, but still a pretty good impact. And the damage? Well, you see it right there. A little bit of a scrape on the crash guard. And while you guys don't have a reference point to this, I can tell you that this thing, I don't think it even budged a millimeter. So it took the impact, it went into the slide, it scraped off a little bit, it perfectly protected the cylinder, perfectly protected the exhaust here in front. Sorry, it's a little dirty, but perfectly protected the exhaust. And the next point where I got some kind of a damage or scraping was actually on the side stand. Right here you can see some scrapes on the side stand. But if I get too much off topic, back to the crash guard. Fantastic product, very strong. Like I said, with those 3 anchors held together really well. I did not experience any type of other bending. I didn't experience any type of shift in the frame. The bike still ran very strong, very true. The handlebar got damaged a little bit. I actually switched out handlebars afterwards, but it wasn't really strong damage. It was a good excuse to change handlebars. I'll get that into a second. But back to the crash guards here, they did a fantastic job. So if you're looking for sturdy crash guards that can take a hit and keep on trucking, to use a way overused analogy, the Hepco Becker product is excellent. it actually has another cool side effect from these crash guards that I really liked about these with this bike, and that's the following. You know, the Moto Guzzi is a older style bike. You know, it's a retro classic, and the frame design is also retro, which means it has, I think it's called a cradle frame, if I'm not mistaken, and it had these, the frame itself, before you added the crash guard component, essentially the frame connected right here with 2 bolts. And so what you got out of this bike, because it's so close to the engine, is when you turn the bike on, the engine shakes and the whole bike shakes, and it has this whole Moto Guzzi character to it. Well, cool character. It's like a fun experience to kind of feel the bike kind of shift and shake when you turn it on, or shift or swing to the right when you rev the engine. But it also took a lot of stability out of the motorcycle, really, because you felt a lot of frame flex, particularly when you rode the bike a little bit more spirited. There was quite a bit of frame flex in it. It took away. It took away from the riding experience, I thought. When I added these crash guards, because of this double reinforcement here and the fact that they're stiffened up here with the additional bracket, and they're also attached down here to the engine, all of a sudden frame rigidity, at least by my perception, at least doubled, and that dramatically improved the handling on the bike. I actually really loved this add-on before I even had the crash, because of that very positive impact on the rigidity of the bike and on the handling. Because what happened is when the bike worked a little bit in turns or over poor surface or whatever, it was no longer working in the frame. It was now actually finally properly working in the suspension in the front and rear, and it dramatically improved the riding experience. So just for improved handling, I recommend these Hepco and Becker bars before you ever get in the situation where you actually have to put them to use. But you can also rest assured that they will work quite well. So huge fan of this product, strongly recommend it. Now, one note on installation, because this is going to be important if you try to do this in your garage. Some of the spaces in terms of tightening down these bolts, particularly here on the back end, I'm not sure if you guys can see this. Let me try to go around this way. Hope you can see this right here. There's some really tight spaces there. So you're going to need to have some tools that can handle those tight spaces. If you have the standard, craftsman tools or whatever, you might have a hard time. See if you can find some wrenches that are a little bit thinner. They can then let you get in there. The other thing, and this is the really, really big item here, is because you're replacing this engine mount bolt, you are going to have to find a way to support the engine from the bottom so it doesn't drop out when you start removing this bolt and unscrewing these frame mounts. So make sure you have a jack and a board or some kind of a good method to support that engine, and it stays in its position so you don't mess up anything else on your bike as you're installing these. Outside of that, the tight spot and the issue with supporting the engine, they're actually a very straightforward install. I don't remember how long it took me, but it really wasn't that huge of a job. And once again, the end effect, it was fantastic. Very positive impact on handling, additional rigidity in the bike. I lost a little bit of the Moto Guzzi shake, but you know what? I'll trade that for handling any day and twice on Sunday. And when push came to shove and I actually needed to have crash protection, it passed with flying colors. So here's my ringing endorsement of the Hepco and Becker crash guards. If these are available for your bike, or if you are also on a Moto Guzzi, strongly recommend these. This, I believe, is the way to go. Hope this was useful to y'all. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a like, give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content like this, I truly appreciate your subscription, as I hope to bring y'all more content here very soon. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day.